registered 6,609,115 voters between April 2017 and August 2018. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, so in Lagos, we only have 6 million. Three things come out at me when I read this story. We only have 6 million out of, you know, 20 million. That's really low. 6.6 million, if you like, 6.609115 to be precise, between April 2017 and August 20. So they had an increase additional of 700,000 or 786,000. I find that really disturbing because, as we keep saying, people are not voting and people are not participating, irrespective of the campaign to get your PVC, get your PVC, get your PVC. That's number one. Number two is you then look at, and it's almost like a third of those who are registered actually have not collected their PVC. Now, given that the largest registration was done between April 2017 to August 2018, so around about, just over a year, they had an additional 786,000, yet there's 1.4 million PVCs unclaimed. That means it would have been also from the last election that they weren't claimed, which is also worrying. So why is it only now that they're suddenly waking up and raising so-called alarm bells? Oh God, we're so quick at raising alarm bells. Only nobody ever has water to put out the fire.
To be fair to INEC, they have been talking about this all through the year from end of last year, and they have been saying, listen, the registration exercise has been ongoing. Please come and pick these up. And the numbers keep going up in terms of people who have now registered and still not collected.
Now, that brings me to my third point. The third point is then, why is it that we have a system by which you register and you don't get to collect immediately? That part I find really disturbing. I find it really, really disturbing. Why is it now I can go into my bank and get my ATM card immediately there and then, literally. Yet I can't go in and register as a citizen to vote and get my PVC there and then I have to come back. Why should I have to come back? Why are you presuming that I have the time to come back? The whole system is flawed. The process is flawed. So this 1.4 million, if we don't find the people that own it, and this is my call out to all Nigerians and all Lagosians, if we don't find the people that own it and nobody collects it, this is how you end up with corruption during the election. What happens? Several faces will now suddenly, all these IDs, all these people will start bearing names that they never bore when they were born. And because somebody's going to have to use these cards, and this is going to work in favor of corruption, of, rigging. That's the word I was looking for, rigging. So we owe it to ourselves to collect it. But even more so is that INEC, we now have electronic voters. You really must be able, you've got to do better than this. I'm sick and I can't keep reading 1.4 unclaimed PVCs. No, not good enough. I don't care if they've been shouting it since day one. Not good enough. It should have been better by now. So again, we scream out alarms. Nobody's got the water to put out the fire.
Thank you very much for that one. So Funmi, I'm coming back to you with this one from Daily Times. It says, hope rises for 2019 polls as National Assembly okays 189 billion naira election budget. And they say that on Wednesday, hopes were raised for Nigerians on the conduct of the 2019 general elections, as it's been resolved that the approval of the entire 189.2 billion election budget proposed by the Independent National Electoral Commission has been passed, basically. And I also further says that Buhari, in a fresh letter dated 19th September, requested that the federal lawmakers approve the amount, which is 189 billion, along with 53 billion for various security agencies, totaling about 242.4 billion naira.
My God.
It's alarming figures, right?
Yeah, well, democracy is expensive.
In our case, it's exorbitant.
Yes. What can we say? Okay, so this new application by the president is as a result of the fact that, as we know, he's not very enthusiastic about the 2019 budget being passed on time, which is where this is supposed to be incorporated in. So he's asked for a special consideration so that it does not affect our preparations for the elections. The story says that the sum approved for INEC, which is 189 billion naira, has been approved by the committee. It's now today we're expecting the committee to now to look at the one that is supposed to be for the various security agencies, which is the 53 billion naira. I like the fact that the story breaks down how they intend to share it among the security agencies. The Office of the National Security Advisor is expected to take about 4 billion plus. The Department of State Security Service about 12 billion plus. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps about 3 billion plus. The Nigerian Police Force about 30 billion plus, and the Nigerian Immigration Service about 2 billion plus.
Okay.
I'm not actively involved in how elections work, but I keep wondering what the Nigerian Immigration Service is going to do regarding elections and stuff. But yes, so it's good that the National Assembly and the Executive agree on this point. They have not turned it into another battle, another thing in their political battle with each other. So yes,
but generally, your thoughts on the figures, though? Do you think that it's a little too much, or?
Of course, everybody. It's a cry we've always said from the beginning. Our elections are ridiculously expensive, and I mean, this is
Writes letters too. Okay, thank you very much for that one. Ireti, I'm coming back to you with this one. This one here says, Ngige says, no pact on minimum wage yet, and the NLC kicks. Basically, this story comes from the Punch newspaper, and it's quite interesting because there's a back and forth going between, the federal government and the NLC. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, yes, so the Minister of Labour and Employment, Ngige, is basically, and I'm always surprised how people are not embarrassed, especially when it's your job to resolve these issues. And he's totally unembarrassed by, oh, you people, I read in the paper that you people are saying we have agreed on that. We have not agreed on 30,000. Oh, I just think, sir, do you listen? Do they hear themselves? So we've had this battle going on forever. The current minimum wage is 18,000.
yeah.
Right. So apparently the labor unions are asking for 30,000. The private sector had agreed 30,000, but having reviewed it, they're now also saying 25,000. The federal government is proposing 24,000. However, the governors, trust them. Those, all I gotta say is they don't really care about us. Yeah, those ones are saying 20,000. Now, this has been going on. Remember, there was the strike. Right. The whole idea when they stopped the strike was, let's get back to the table. Let's talk about this. Let's come to an agreement. And Mr. Ngige is actually proud to tell us that they have not reached an agreement yet. Nobody has agreed on anything. And he's actually proud to say that. And he said the issue of the Minimum Wage Convention 131, the fixing mechanism, takes that into account and also says that there must be a consensual agreement. Sir, it is your job to moderate this and get everybody to the table and resolve it. And there's got to be, because really, honestly, those who are on minimum wage in this country are suffering. And I'm not saying 18K, it's nothing. I know, I appreciate 18K a great deal. Trust me, you can put some in my account right now, I'll be dancing. But, we should be able to do better. However, you've also got the issue of inflation. We can't go into that part of the story now because Folu's doing her flight attendant. Yes, helicopter, yeah.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate that, though. We've got lots of messages coming in. Fred from Ikoyi makes a comment on the registered voters. Says, Ms. Ireti, the number of registered voters is still a lot. You need to consider the demographics. So many people in the population are actually under 18, and that should be considered. So the actual voting population would be considerably less. While Walter from Igondo says, the federal government chasing shadows on Ekweremadu. First it was Saraki, now the deputy. Please let analysts know that to tell the listeners that the penalty for asset declaration is chicken change. Laughing face.
Exactly.
Which then takes us to our next story. So let's just get into it. From the Punch newspaper, the federal government is charging Ekweremadu and Akpan with refusal to declare assets. And now, essentially, what's happened is this is not the constitutionally mandated declare your assets once every 4 years. This is now the special presidential investigation panel for the recovery of public property. They asked them to declare assets. They haven't, so they filed a suit with each of the litigants. Containing 2 counts against each of the senators. So for me, a couple of comments. 2 counts, that seems to be very serious. It's rare that we see the federal government narrowing down counts in this way. We tend to see double digits when it comes to the number of counts. But the other issue is the response of Senator Ekweremadu, who says that this is unconstitutional. It's a violation of my rights. That basically what they're trying to prosecute me for is not obeying the Constitution because I've already declared assets 4 years ago. There's no need to do this again. Your
Yeah.
thoughts?
You know what I love that you just did, Folu? You removed the first arm of his comments, and you know when I saw the story, because to quickly touch on that, we need to stop doing that in this country. To stop listening to the political witch hunt story. We need to stop helping them do that. So let's change that
Narrative,
that narrative that it's because elections are coming, the opposition is the one in power, and all of that. So yes, this is the Special Presidential Investigation Panel for the Recovery of Public Property. And we remember that this is a panel that was set up by the president,
Yes.
led by Okwebona Obla,
Yes.
Senior Advocate of Nigeria. And so what Ekweremadu is saying in response is that what the Constitution requires public officers to do is to declare their assets every 4 years, which is the Code of Conduct. And this is the slight distinction with the case with the current Senate President Bukola Saraki, because he was charged for failing to do that at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. So I can't positively comment on how the case will go, saying that it's a live issue in court. The court will decide that. But he makes, I would just say that he makes very solid and very good points. If they feel like he has breached his constitutional right by either under declaring or declaring falsely, the Code of Conduct Tribunal, the Code of Conduct Bureau will be the set of people investigating and prosecuting him before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. So yeah, let's see how this goes.
It's going to be very interesting to see. Up next, if you were a passenger, you're trying to catch a flight yesterday, it was a nightmare situation. And the New Telegraph, as well as a number of other papers, report on it. Flights were grounded and passengers groaned as unions shut down Murtala Mohammed Airport 2, MMA 2, to all of us. Now, we're told that the unions took this action essentially because there were about 20 employees that were dismissed by Courtney, for indicating an interest to join unions, which really shouldn't be the case. They'd spoken to Courtney and said, employ them, they should be allowed to unionize. But a very interesting fact is when all of this happened and their demands were not met, they issued a warning notice to say we are going to go on strike. Courtney went to court, apparently, according to the same version of the story in the Punch newspaper, and actually obtained a restraining order to prevent them. But the unions say they never received a restraining order and that they have the backing of the law to protest, and they are threatening they will be repeating that protest again today. Ms. Ireti, your thoughts on this story,
So
please?
first and foremost, how dare you stop people from exercising their right to protest? How dare you, Mr. Courtney? By the way, Courtney is owned by Wale Babalaki. So that, let's put it out there rather than just the name of the company. And he's a lawyer, isn't he, for me?
Yeah.
He's a lawyer. He should know better. He should know about the rights of the citizen. That's number one. Number two is, if you're within an industry that's unionized, it's your right to join a union. Why stop people from joining unions? I can only presume it's because you're up to no good, because you want to be able to cheat them. It's true, because unions were formed for a reason. They're formed so that the collective can also represent the single. Do you understand? And vice versa. And we mustn't take that for granted, especially in a country like Nigeria, where big men trek over small people all the time, and especially their workers. They don't work within good conditions. And I'm not saying that's what Courtney is doing. What I'm saying is that's why you must allow your employees, if they want to join a union, and after all, they pay towards the union. They're not asking you to pay. It comes out of their salary. So who are you to stop them? Well, look, I'm glad I wasn't traveling. I came back from Abuja on Monday. I'm so glad this did not. And I actually thought about changing my flight. Thank God I was back. I feel sorry for people who had to buy new tickets and those who are going international. Can you imagine? You had an early international flight and the traffic actually started from Oshodi, I understand.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, they started from Oshodi all the way down. So they were serious. And I applaud them for doing that. Stand up for your rights, Nigerians. Stand up, because if we all stand together, they can't kill all of us. They can't harm all of us.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Ireti. For me, coming to you to talk about what's going on with the Supreme Court. A very interesting headline from the Punch newspaper. The Chief Justice of Nigeria says that the Supreme Court's diary is filled until 2021. Lawyers are worried. There's chaos in the street. No, there isn't chaos in the street. Sorry about that.
It should be.
But let's give you the background news. Basically, is that Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onnoghen, on Monday came out with a statement to say that the Supreme Court's diary is filled for the next 3 years. But he also did issue a stern warning to the courts to say that you must hear matters on the dates that they are fixed for. They will be publishing the cause list of the courts for up to 3 months ahead of time. But of course, there are major the former Vice President, for example, of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Monday Ubani, says this is scary because it means that for foreign investors or people looking at coming to the country, you're saying if there's a matter that you have to wait until 2022 to be able to have your matter heard. And another senior lawyer, Mr. Joseph Otte, says that, well, perhaps we should declare a state of emergency. For me, we keep issue of judicial review, reviewing the way that our legal system operates. What are your thoughts, please?
Okay, so this is a serious access to justice issue because when you consider, and I actually find the CJN's comment very optimistic, because when you consider the fact that next year a lot of judges will be rescheduled for election petitions, and the tribunals that will last for a while, a lot of cases will be paused next year to that is sorted out, minus the fact that doing this, even pre-election matters, would be given special consideration because elections are coming and there would be appeals and all of that. So this is even a very optimistic time frame. So yes, we do have an issue, and it all comes back to, so far all we've been doing is soundbites. The practical steps is we have too few judges in Nigeria. Why should the entire country have just one Supreme Court located in Abuja? It's an ideal starting point will be in each geopolitical zone, but that would require a very many more judges than we have to do, and then they will tell you, and it goes back to the expenditure, the budget, the part of the budget that is reserved for the judiciary and all the monies and all of that.
Because people who would be qualified, let's take a look at some of the senior advocates we have, and I mean, look at the sort of fees that they command in the private sector, and then you go and work for a government.
One Supreme Court justice would cost, well, I don't know the figures, and then, but it's in every arm of the court system, from the high courts to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. We do need more judges. All our dockets are filled up, our judges are overworked. So yes, it's something that we need, and it's something we should look at. And when we look at all these issues in Nigeria, two things I want to quickly point out, and it also ties back a bit to the minimum wage issue. There's always the issue of we don't have the money. We don't have the money. But let's look at two things. We would not begin to have the money until we deal with two major issues that we have in Nigeria. Number one is our bloated civil service system. It's something that this administration said we were going to deal with. We have not dealt with that. Number two is the fact that we have to decide as a nation, which do we prioritize, infrastructure versus human development. It's always been an issue. So we spend a lot of money on infrastructure. Out of the little money that we don't have, we tend to favor infrastructure versus human development. And so we don't mind borrowing money with billions of dollars for roads, trains, and all of that, which is good. But are we supposed to prioritize above human development?
All right, thank you very much for that. And a final story very quickly, Ms. Ireti. Oshiomhole is alleging a bias as INEC has barred Zamfara APC from putting forward candidates. Essentially, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress is upset with INEC, who have put out a statement and said that the body was barred after they did not hold primaries within the stipulated time. Oshiomhole is saying that's not true. They did conduct primaries. But your thoughts on the story, Ms. Ireti?
Well, I don't know how much time we've got, but I recommend people to go read it. Yeah, because seriously, it's actually very interesting. So APC literally missed the deadline. They're claiming that, look, we did primaries. We didn't have to take any votes. What is it? Therefore, they claim that in your letter under reference that no primaries were conducted by your party in the state, notwithstanding that our officials were fully mobilized and deployed. Anyway, APC then says to INEC, look, PDP did not hold primaries in Kano, but yet you didn't give them the same letter. Why are you picking on us? But it would appear as you go further down, APC literally, they have no leg to stand on. They're claiming that by October the 18th, which is the deadline for the submission of names, that's candidates, that they will submit a name, an APC name for Zamfara State. I remember hearing about this last night and actually laughing. However, every lawyer, different lawyers, SANs, non-SANs, desk lawyers like us, real lawyers like Funmi, everybody is saying, look, APC, you haven't got any choice. You've lost here, literally. And INEC, and they're saying, look, INEC must stick to their guns. If they capitulate, then they are basically letting the electorate down. And I'll just end with this quote. He said, APC has lost the state totally. I believe it is a divine strategy to deliver Nigerians. God will ensure that there is enough commotion within the party so that Nigerians can get them out of power in 2019. You will see more commotions in other states at the federal level so that Nigerians can be liberated. It is a rescue mission that God has started with Zamfara as a template. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Wow. APC, what were you doing? You were dozing, Johnson. I don't even know what they call it these days. You were certainly not on the ball. Mr. Oshiomhole, somebody lost the plot here. Totally.
All right. Thank you very much for that. We'll round up with one or two comments that have come through. Mr. No Shaking up on WhatsApp sends us this message to say you can't compare the banks with INEC. The banks have central database. The system is automated. INEC is simply not. We will get there, but not with the old men running INEC. And until then, we keep with what we have, he says. More people coming in to comment on double taxation as well. But this one, Jide from VI is actually more PVCs. Let's see if we can get very quickly. Bamidele from Lagos says it's okay for workers to suffer if they don't resist the governmental anomaly. 30 million for senators makes workers look foolish. And has the Obla responded with his YX saga? Meanwhile, Wale Babalaki is a Nigerian lawyer. Not a lawyer, please. Sorry, there's a difference.
What is there a difference? How dare you? My friend Funmi here is a lawyer, and she's also a Nigerian lawyer. How dare you?
And I'm a Nigerian lawyer.
Yeah, and I could have been a lawyer, and I would have been a Nigerian lawyer. That's very disrespectful.
Okay, and finally, Mr. G. Quest Gwalahan sent in this one to say, first VADES, now VORs. Yes, it's important for citizens to contribute their quota towards national development. However, it would be nice to see the benefits of paying taxes that serves as a better incentive to increasing taxes rather than executive orders, and only increasing from 11 million to 80 million taxpayers for VADES. What about those who have not responded? We're yet to see prosecutions, and for as long as there are no prosecutions for those that do not respond, executive orders will be nothing but paper tigers. I guess that's our topic for Lagos Talks 981 today, but keep listening. Coming up next, we got some great music. Asha, it's been a while, but she will be up here with Brother Oli. Good morning.
I invest.
How dare him?